Throughout the decades, there has been one standout voice in harness racing. Adam Hamilton has conveyed the amazing highs and the heartbreaking lows. Retrovision are proud to present Adam Hamilton. Retrovision, lowest prices guaranteed. RAC members save an extra 5% every day at Retrovision.
Thanks to the team at Retrovision. Great to have Adam Hamilton with us on the program this morning. Adam, a very good morning to you.
Yeah, morning, guys. Exciting, isn't it? Maybe your best, certainly your most exciting pacer is over my side of Australia, getting ready for the Tab Eureka, and he's a clear favourite. He deserves to be never ending, and even in defeat, he was terrific last Friday night. He looks right on song. The heaviest load of the travels over and done with. He's he's getting up to Menangle to settle in. I love the fact, and I've said this to you before, I love the fact he's coming across really, really early, Justin Prentice, to give the horse time to settle in. I think it'll go a long way to helping him win this race, and I think he's very, very clearly the horse to beat at the moment.
So you're of the view his best is good enough to salute?
I think he's clearly the best horse in the field at the moment. Frankie Ferocious is, who knows where he's at. He's clearly got some issues, or he's not the horse he was. Chariot to Fire, Miracle Mile time, and then there are a really good batch of horses underneath them. But I think Never Ending's I think he's got the potential to become a superstar, and I love the way he's come back this preparation. Everything about him tells me that he'll go even better at Menangle than he goes around Gloucester Park. And I think, I know you're going to have a chat with Justin Prentice. I'm sure he's taking an open mind into the possibility of gear changes and other little tweaks with the horse. That's why he's getting him across there nice and early. But is his best good enough? You bet it is. He's clearly the horse to beat. If he was trained by Luke McCarthy, no disrespect to Justin, but I mean if he was trained by Luke McCarthy right near Menangle and didn't have the travel factor, and he'd been at the track before, he'd be about $2.20 at the moment.
Okay, and clearly, Adam, we all know that they're completely contrasting in regards to Menangle and GP. What are the similarities between the two circuits, or are there none?
Oh, other than the fact that they're a circuit, no, not really. Look, Gloucester Park's an old school track, isn't it? They're making the best out of it. It provides exciting racing. But the barrier draws impact the betting stunningly because it's such an advantage to be up on speed or near the marker pegs. I'm not saying it's a disadvantage in any way at Menangle, but it's just in the big races, people will argue as a whole, the leaders and those on pace still win the majority of races at Menangle. Yes, they do. But I think in the big races, you've only got to look where Encipher came from last year to win it. This is going to be a truly run 2,300 metres, and it's a very fair track. It's 1,400 metres compared to, the traditional size Gloucester Park track. It's got an incredibly long straight. Every time you look at Never Ending, watch him. He goes into a holding pattern around the bend, and as soon as he balances up, he just switches into another gear. He hasn't got 130 metres to balance up like Gloucester Park. He's got 300 and something metres at Menangle to balance up. So he's just going to love the track, guys. I really, really believe that this track's going to be made for him.
Justin is obviously a very reserved trainer. That's his nature. He doesn't talk up his horses too much. But for the first time last Friday night, after rocketing home to run second, I just felt, chatting to him, there's an air of confidence and there's a sense of timing about him. And everything that you've been saying consistently over the last 4 or 5 weeks, Adam, I think it is now starting to really rub off on Justin. He knows that he's got a horse that is going there and going there in good nick, and touch wood, it stays that way.
Yeah, and you can't underestimate the value of him going there a couple of years ago with Mighty Ronaldo. Yep. I know they said at the time sure, they wanted to go over there and win a nice race with him. But, at that stage of Justin's career, he was hoping Mighty Ronaldo was a stepping stone towards getting his first superstar. He's got the horse. He's done the grounding. He learned a hell of a lot from that trip. And I think he's building that knowledge into the way that he's preparing Never Ending for this race. So, look, I'm really, really excited about this. I'm excited from a harness racing point of view because I think this horse can be a genuine Grand Circuit star for the next few years. But for WA, you're due a really good horse to come over again. You were spoiled a bit with Quinny there. It's been a while, and this horse has got the potential to do it.
What can you tell us about Catch a Wave?
Well, everyone in WA will be excited to see him back. Hasn't raced since he completed that remarkable double, winning the Freo Cup, what was it, on about the 26th of April, so a week after he won the Nullarbor. He's had a trial. They've stepped up his work. He resumes in the opening race, the free-for-all at Melton on Saturday night. He's drawn the back row. Like, it's never easy. In the words of Andy Gaff, he's a horse you traditionally want to take on a bit first up because, he's incredibly hard for them to get a line on. The mail is he's working better than he ever has, but it'll be interesting with him first up. He's going to have at least 2 or 3 runs, go to the Len Smith Mile. That's on Tab Eureka night, September 7. After that, October 12, he's got the Victoria Cup. And then just reiterating, it now looks close to a lock that you'll see him back for the WA Pacing Cup. And he's definitively ruled out the Inter-Dominion. And he's saying, the only possible hurdle is travel. If they can get the right sort of flights over and back, Catch a Wave will be there. So Len Smith, September. Then he goes into Victoria Cup, October, then over to the WA Pacing Cup. I mean, he's a superstar. In any other era, he'd probably be the best horse in the land, but there's just a horse that goes okay called Leap to Fame, who's a bit of a roadblock for him at the moment.
All right, so that is Saturday night. Quickly on Menangle this weekend as well, Adam. Saturday night, we've got a good card of racing to look forward to there.
Yeah, and there's a really strong Tab Eureka flavour to this. So, we know there's a couple of slots left, and that's Kevin K. Seymour and then Danny and Joe Zavitsanos. They're the official ones left. But the tab over this side of the country has Frankie Ferocious. It's just crickets as far as where he's at the moment. There's got to be a massive question mark over him. You would think that they're looking at backup options, so there could be a third slot. And then the other horse to watch at Melton on Saturday night is the Lost Storm. So at the moment he's in the Aaron Bain and Summit Bloodstock slot, but I want to see him deliver. I mean, he ran last when he last appeared at Melton, so he's drawn well in that Catch a Wave race, the Lost Storm, big watch on him. But on to Menangle, this is an important night. So there's there's 3 key horses going round, maybe 4 that are trying to get into the Tab Eureka for those remaining spots. We start with race 5, terrific mares race. Major Delight, 4-year-old mare, Emma Stewart, won 20 of 25. She's drawn 9, but she's taking on Hardie's Express, the superstar former Kiwi mare, drawn 8. If Major Delight wins or runs really well, she's got to be pressing for one of those remaining Tab Eureka spots. In race 3, you've got Petrarca. He's been beaten both runs. Doug's Platter, really good winning first up last week, drawn 2, Petrarca 6, and even Dangerous out in 11. All those 3 are still in the mix for the Eureka. And then Emma Stewart's got a few other runners up there. But they're the main races 3 and 5 from a Tab Eureka point of view. Maybe we might have an announcement from one of those remaining slot holders next week, guys.
All right, and just quickly a word on the feature events up there in Albion Park as well. Of course, there's a few key runners going around there.
Yeah, well, he can find them, Jason Grimson, can't he? Major Moth, first start for him last week, just looked like it was headed towards Group 1 races. Dominant win, brilliant time. He was really, really impressive, Major Moth, last week. So he backs up this week. Free Thinker goes around in race 2. He's just staying on target for the Tab Eureka. And also the free-for-all there, race 4 over the 1660. Good little race, Jim RT 2, Black Sedan 3. Curly James won its first start for Grimson last week, draws 6, and the old boy turned it up in 7. So a good meeting up there. And you've got a really good meeting at Gloucester Park as well tomorrow night, haven't you, fellas, with an interesting free-for-all, Tim. Tenzing Bromac really good last week, but be a little bit harder from out there in 7.
Yeah, it will. Obviously, still a show, and the Mickey Taker drawn underneath him this week, but I've just loved the way that he's come back. And chatting to Denny Roberts on the track after last week's win, this is a horse that if there is one that will make her swap over from Minstrel, I think it'll be Tenzing Bromac going towards the feature events later on this year. In terms of Friday night, so the Code Breakers obviously got barrier number 1. As I mentioned, Jetstar, the Mickey Taker, still show all underneath Tenzing Bromac, but I think he'll be winning again. He looks to be going really well at the start of this campaign. And our Diamond Classic is a good one, and Ryan Bell again being looked after by the barrier draws. Adam, I think he'll be winning it as well with Copperhead Lady, but if there is one that can win it maybe a decent enough price, I think it'll be Jax's Ideal, who's going along very nicely, drawn barrier number 10.
Yeah, and then over to race 6, Hardie by the Seaside. Again,
Yeah.
Well, we talked last week, didn't we, about taking on the boys. There's a lot better boys to take on than what she meets this time. But it's still, it's another little test this week.
Yeah, it is. I expect her to win. It was one of those ones I looked at the race first when it came out yesterday and thought, oh, okay, she should be winning. And then looked at it again this morning and thought, well, you know what, she's still going to have to be very good to win this race, which I think she is very good. So I'd expect her to win, but it's not going to be just a walk in the park, because Denny Roberts and Greg and Sky Bond would know better than anyone else, clearly, that the other 3 runners that they've got in the race are very, very well credentialed, and Paul Edward as well has drawn barrier number 1 there. Blaze Coops is racing well, albeit a tough draw for her to overcome. So, looking forward to seeing her take on the boys on Friday night, and we could see a very special mare in the race before it in Penny Black. So they might be the 2 that are fighting out our mares races come the back end of this year. Shall we have a look at some best bets?
Yep, Menangle race 3, number 2, Doug's Platter. It's in that race against Petrarca and Dangerous. It's drawn well. I've always had a tremendous opinion of this horse. Fibrillated, 2 starts back, had a break, like what I saw last week, gets a draw. I think it'll win again, race 3, number 2, Doug's Platter. And then Melton, first up, Oliver Dan. Look, it's not going to get into the Tab Eureka, I don't think, but I've got an opinion of this horse. The stable's barking about how well it's come back, and it might be backable first up as well. Maybe, if not, it's always hard when the markets aren't out, but Melton race 8, number 4, Oliver Dan. So Menangle race 3, number 2, Doug's Platter. Melton race 8, number 4, Oliver Dan. My 2 best of what is a fascinating weekend of racing, guys.
Going to be a beauty. Looking forward to catching up with you again next week. Adam, enjoy what's to come this weekend first and foremost, and no doubt the Eureka picture. It'll have a different look this time next week. All the best.
Good on you, fellas. Look forward to chatting then.
All the best, Adam. Adam Hamilton, thanks to the team at Retrovision, giving us the very latest harness racing news. Well, let's get over to Melbourne and catch up with Justin Prentice as he prepares to head up to Sydney as well, with never ending. Just a couple of weeks away is the Eureka. We'll get the very latest on how he travelled over. Justin, good morning to you.
Good morning, guys.
Good morning, Justin. Thanks so much for your time. Who travelled better, the horse or you?
Well, he definitely had a bit more energy than I did. I settled in pretty quick. We left, the junior picked us up from my place and left there about 2:45 and got to Nathan Jack's at 4 a.m. So it was a pretty long night. A lot of travel for him. But he's sort of taken a little bit to settle into the new surroundings and that, but he's a lot better today than he was yesterday. About to take him out for a jog this morning. Once he finds a routine, I'm sure he'll be fine. Obviously, they've got to head back up to Sydney and sort of settle into another place again. But he's booked to head up there tomorrow. So, it's the benefit of getting over here so early. You've got plenty of time to settle him in and find a routine, and I'm sure he'll be fine.
When do you get that first look at the Menangle track?
Not too sure yet. Sort of see how he settles in and see sort of need a bit of a hit out before he races. If we race him a fortnight out like we want to. So I mean that would probably be about a week out from that. So where we're staying, Pete's got a track there, so he'll probably be able to do a fair bit of his work there, and then just go to Menangle when we want to sort of give him a look before he goes and has that hit out, bowl him around, and then have a decent hit out there. But yeah, sort of looking forward to getting up there and get into a routine. And I mean, I feel a bit lost too, sort of having one horse and sort of come over to like obviously Nathan Jacks looks after me and sort of don't want to get in their way and that sort of thing. So it just takes a bit of getting used to, and for me and the horse.
Justin, has this campaign with Never Ending, we're only in the early stages of it, I know, but has everything been seamless from your point of view?
Yeah, it has as well. As well as it could be. You always have a few little things with horses, but we've gone in every race that we'd mapped out, and pretty well every race. Obviously other than his last one, not actually winning, but his performances have been as good as I could have hoped for, and even his second run, being able to drive him a little bit different, making a mid-race move and getting him to settle. First, race over a mile and that sort of thing. I think it's been really good education for him, the 3 races this time in, and getting to sort of drive him myself, just sort of been really comfortable with where he's at in his manners, his steering, and just his performances. So, it has been good so far, and hopefully that can continue.
What's your take on Menangle as a track?
I like Menangle. It's obviously very different to Gloucester Park, but I guess I sort of like, not the visual aspect of it as such, but the times I've driven on it, I sort of just really like how much, space and that you feel like you have. And, Mighty Ronaldo seemed to, really like it. It was exciting driving him in a mile, trial. He went 151 just in a trial. It's just, sort of completely different feeling, but I really like it. I think Never Ending will really like it too, the sort of space, openness of the track, and then sort of, how big it is as well. I'd imagine that he'll really like that big straight.
Having a chat here to Justin Prentice, who's over on the other side of the country at the moment. Never Ending, getting ready to go for the Eureka in a month's time. Tomorrow night, Justin, we've got a really good edition of the Diamond Classic, and an even one at that. You've got 2 that have been able to get through to the final in Ruby Lavera and Winter Wonder. So we'll start off with Ruby Lavera, the barrier draw advantage there, drawn 4 and 5. How did you assess her performance in the heat last week behind Copperhead Lady?
She was okay. She travelled like the winner and didn't really kick like I thought she would. So I was probably a little bit disappointed. Ran some blood. She probably was, just probably not quite at her best. So we've just sort of freshened her up and hoping she'll just show that, turn of foot that I know that she has. She's obviously really impressive winning that night at Bunbury in 155 and felt like she had plenty left. It's a cold night as well, so it's a good time. And she's always been a filly that's sort of suggested to me that she was going to be a nice horse. Taking our time with her, and I think she'll probably get better as she gets older and strengthen up. But yeah, it's a bit of a tricky draw for both of them. I'm not sure where they're going to end up there. Obviously, your bellies to sort of hold the key, drawn 1 and 2, and yeah, I don't really sort of have any plans as yet. See how it unfolds.
Do you think that maybe one of them heads forward, try and put one of them into it early doors, or you just, as you say, let it unfold early?
Yeah, we'll sort of probably talk to the drivers and see what they're thinking. It's one of those races. If you go back, you could settle a fair way back, and there may be no speed, and then no chance. So, I mean, there's potential that either one or both go forward and look to find spots. I think, you probably, it's just one of those draws where you're sort of stuck in the middle. Got to make that decision out there to some degree, see what the ones inside of you do, and if anything out wide goes forward. But, I mean, I think both of them are up to it. It'd just be sort of how the races run. I think it's a pretty even field. I don't think there's any standouts. Winter Wonder was good in her heat, sort of ran the quickest time of the day and sort of bowled along a bit in front. Not sure that that's necessarily her strength. So if she was able to sort of find a spot close enough, I think that she'd run a really good race too.
Well, let's hope that they both go very well tomorrow night, and also you've been able to get on Massimo through to the final of the Pearl next week, so looking forward to seeing how he goes. Justin, we do appreciate your time this morning. Let's hope that everything goes smoothly on the road to Sydney from tomorrow, and we'll keep in touch with you as Never Ending's Eureka journey unfolds.
Yeah, not a problem, guys. Thanks for having me on.
What are you really gambling with? For free and confidential support, visit gamblinghelpline.org.au.
On the Sports Daily, the Shayne train's coming into the station. Here's Shayne Williams with his winners for tonight's WA Greyhound racing.
On a big day for Greyhound racing. Welcome to you, Shayne Williams.
Good morning, Timmy. Good morning, Digby. How are we this morning?
Oh, Digby. Oh, good morning, Shayne. How are you?
Very, very official. Good
Very
morning,
formal, yes.
It's an official day.
It is an official day. Big day for the Greyhound Code, isn't it? Right around the country.
Yeah, it certainly is, and it's also Burger Day. I'm looking forward to that as well.
You're back here. You're back in the land of the living?
Yeah, back in the Wild West, Diggs, and nothing like a bit of a late delay on your flight and get home a bit late, but yeah, you get used to that, don't you?
What time did you get home?
I think I walked in the door about 10:30 last night.
So you wouldn't have seen the action, or did you get a chance to have a look at the races down there last night at Mandurah?
Oh, I just watched the replays when I landed, yeah.
Did you think Luke's Cole had won?
Yeah, very deceiving finish, wasn't it? I was obviously checked the result before I watched the race, so I knew he'd won, but it was a tight photo, but luckily he put his head out. It was good.
Okay, what are the confidence levels like heading up the hill today?
Yeah, not too bad. We've always had a little bit of luck up at Northern. I think, like I said to you last couple of weeks, boys, it's a bit of horses for courses track, old Northern. Like the dogs that go around there week in, week out, I think they've got a big advantage over the ones that are only lightly raced up there. So anyway, we can only give it a go and see how we go.
All right, well, let's have a go. What are we doing?
Oh, you probably laugh at me. The first one, race 2, number 3, Surely. He's coming off 7 silver medals in a row, boys. Tipped him in some of them. So surely today's the day for him. He's a really good beginner as a rule. Some of them races he has been a little bit stiff in, but if he doesn't get it done tonight, we'll have to put the red line for him forever, I think. So race 2, number 3, Surely, to kick us off a winner tonight, boys.
What's the second of them?
Race 4, number 2, Starlight Lily. Now, this is a maiden first starter, trained by Paul Stewart. We know how powerful he is up the hill at Northern, but I think this one will be second favourite behind his other dog in 6. They both went around in a quality together at Mandurah. Now, the dog in 6, I'm just looking at its name here, I wrote it down somewhere. Anyway, the dog in 6, it won the trial. It beat it in the trial, but this dog led for a long way and only got beat in the shadows of the post. So I just think with the early pace of the 2 and the 6 not having much pace, he can get sort of pinch a break on it while the 6 has traffic problems. And, I just thought, going in front, be hard to beat. Race 6, number 2, Star Live for our second tip.
All right. Race 6, number 2, and the last of them.
Urban Entity is that dog's name, by the way. The last one, boys, race 7, number 2, Obsess Much, a real lead pinger, has a real love affair with Northam. A track and trip, 11 starts, 3 wins and 8 placings. Hasn't been unplaced there, so got a really good record there, Obsess Much. Does really spear the lids, boys. Watch this dog come out of the boxes. Catch me if you can. Race 7, number 2, Obsess Much.
Okay, the best of those?
We'll go with Obsess Much, boys. Has that track experience here. We can't trust Surely and we can't tip a first starter maiden, so we're left with Obsess Much, the very best today.
Okay, race 7, number 2. Thank you. Good luck yourself up there, and we'll chat again tomorrow, Shayne.
See you, boys. All the best.
There is Shayne Williams with us on the line, having a look at all things at greyhound racing. 0427789571, the Retrovision text line. Send through your thoughts on what was a golden night for Australia. Our best ever day at an Olympic Games. 4 gold, 2 bronze. And Diggers, of course, another big story out of the Olympic Games, and it's an unfortunate one. There was an arrest of an Australian athlete last night, that being a member of the Kookaburras. So Adam Ears has addressed the media earlier on today, and Tom Ryan, of course, he released a very short statement as well. He fronted the media for a very, very short time. Tom Craig. Tom Craig. I don't know why I had Ryan in my head. Apologies for that. Tom Craig. Apologies for that. He addressed the media very, very briefly. It was a prepared statement of about 30 seconds. All of his Olympic privileges for the remainder of the Games have been stripped of him. So that is an unfortunate sour taste on what was otherwise a very, very good day for Australia.
Yeah, exactly right. So he was caught purchasing cocaine in a nighttime area, a night district of Paris. So clearly he's made a blue. He was released without charge. He's, as you said, read a statement, was very remorseful.
Yeah.
And look,
he'd be pretty embarrassed.
He'd be embarrassed. And Anna Mears was quite mature about it. She said he's a good man who's made a bad decision, but when you make a bad decision, there are consequences. So, as you said, his privileges have been revoked.
All right. Now, a man whose privileges will never get revoked here at the Sports Daily, because he brought in some magnificent banana bread for us last week, is Sal.
And some bosses try to talk you off of your feet. Some bosses think they're God's gift to woman. Some bosses think they're sweet enough to eat. What you get is what you see. Ain't nothing more to it.
Good morning to you, Sal.
Hello, Timmy. Hello, Diggers. Morning, listeners.
How is the sunny Canberra?
Oh, about -3 this morning, but beautiful now.
Good to hear. Good to hear.
Magnificent. Magnificent. Not as good as the 24 we're getting here on Saturday, Sal.
Oh, it looks good, doesn't it? I saw that. Yeah, no, it's just starting to turn as well. Well, the big thing, you guys wouldn't see it because you're in the studio, but it's the days are just starting to get that little bit longer again, which is always nice.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
We've done the hard work. All right, now, Sal, let's get stuck into it because we've got a massive weekend of rugby league to look forward to. There are a number of games that I looked at yesterday and thought Sal could go either way here. I don't think we've got one tonight in South Sydney in the Storm, but they were beaten by your boys last week, the Storm.
Oh, unbelievable. We're still shaking our heads, but move on. They don't lose two very often, do they? And they're 9 from 11 against the Rabbitohs. I know this one's in town at Acor, of course, and the Rabbitohs have been good there. They won their last 3 there, but, yeah, as I just said, the Storm. And, sometimes a loss is good, and you could, even just listening to Craig Bellamy during the week, he goes, yeah, we needed that. It's time to learn to respect football teams. So, yeah, we saw what the loss did to St George the week before, their opponents last week. So, yeah, I'll go the Storm, boys.
Okay, a good friend of mine likes to play unders and overs, so the line here's 51.5. It's a big number.
Yeah, it is a big number. It is a big number. And as I say, the big thing with that is, do the other team score? Obviously the Storm, they might score plenty, but other Rabbitohs going to be allowed to score that many. So I'm probably not so sure on that one.
Okay, I'll have a chat to him. Now, the first of the two games tomorrow, Gold Coast up against Cronulla. Tim's boys, the Titans are 152, the Sharks 255, the line here 5.5. This game kicks off at 4 o'clock.
Yeah, you've hit the nail on the head there, Diggers, and exactly what you just said. 152, a side that's 11th.
Yeah.
Taking on a side that's 4th at a $2.50. Unbelievable when you look at it like that, isn't it? And we don't need to convince anybody that they can beat the Sharks because they did a month ago. And when they did, they had Hines playing and obviously Jaden Campbell wasn't playing. But all of a sudden, the nutty professor, Desi Hasler's got this Titan side purring. They've won 5 of their past 6. And the Sharks, for me, I watched them last Saturday night. They were pretty clunky in their win over the Rabbitohs, but they've only won 3 of their past 9. They lose Trindle now. Their hooker's gone to... Brayley's gone to 7. Mate, I like the Titans in this game. I really do. So, yeah. What about young Khan Pereira, Timmy? Your boy on the wing. 10 tries in his past 6 games. Scoring or what?
Certainly is. Now, Sal, the second of Friday night's games, the Eels up against the Panthers. You shouldn't see the Panthers having too many issues here, should you?
It used to be the Fortress Combank, and for that matter, the Panthers haven't defeated the Eels there since 2019, but they lost 4 of their 5 this year. Diggers, this one, I know you're a Panthers man, and I know you'll love this stat. When you look at a side that are, trying to win 4 in a row, have a listen to where the 3 sides they played in grand finals are sitting in on this year's ladder. 14th, 15th and 16th. It's incredible, this Penrith Panthers franchise at the moment. I know we talk about the Storm, but gee whiz, he's got them purring, hasn't he? And the man, Nathan Cleary, he's had 3 games back, boys. He's running the footy. He scored 52 points on his own in his last 3 games.
Yeah.
Oh, purring.
He stays healthy. They can go all the way once again, can they not, Sol?
Oh, my word, they can, Diggers. Yeah, my word. I'm still concerned about their outside backs.
Yep.
And probably their bench. But, at the moment, they're introducing these kids, and young McLean, for an example, he's been great the last couple of weeks, but we'll wait and see what happens when it comes to finals. But, yes, every chance they could go 4 in a row.
He's that good, Nathan Cleary. He helps paper over the cracks, so it'll be interesting to see what the back end of the season looks like for Penrith. Now, the opening game on Saturday sees the Raiders at 2:30 up against Manly at 162. The line here 3.5. It's one of the closer games of the weekend.
Yeah, high stakes in this one. The bottom line is the Raiders 10th, Sea Eagles 7th. Neither can afford a loss, to be totally honest. Olakawatu, Saab and Garrett come back in to this Sea Eagles side after the bye. The Raiders desperate last week in Big Joshy Papali'i's 300. They'll celebrate that tonight at their home ground. They're looking to go 3 in a row at home. And Turbo scored 6 tries in his past 4 game against the Raiders. So, mate, I just think I think the Sea Eagles might have too many points, to be honest, Diggers. Yeah, so I'm going to go the Sea Eagles in this one. All
right, now the Broncos, their fall from grace is continuing. North Queensland, they should be looking after them.
Yeah, the mathematicians, Timmy.
Yes.
They're still saying the Broncos can make the 8. But this is massive, and it's massive for the reasons. The Cowboys have got a real opportunity to slip into the top 4. And that's, if results go their way, all of a sudden they are up there. So, that's the bottom line. So, yeah, it's a massive game. I'm going to go the Cowboys, but, the big problem for me, in the last 2 games, the Broncos conceded 87 points, and we know what happened in that second half last week. Unbelievable. 36 conceded. So, they're talking about Reece Walsh playing 5'8". You're filling a position to weaken another. I know it's Tristan Saylor. Cowboys, too big, too massive. I think it's a massive game. I think they can win.
Okay, what about the Dragons up against the very much informed Bulldogs? St George, 223 your boys. Canterbury, 166.
Yeah, I tell you what, it's going to be a beauty. Mate, the joint will be rocking. Jubilee, it'll be jumping. We saw what happened last week with Belmore, and they were talking diggers about moving it to to a Sydney bigger ground, and they went, nah, we're just going to leave it. It's a blockbuster. Bulldogs have won 4 of their past 5. Stephen Crichton, oh my God, unbelievable last week. Dragons have been good at home, but they've lost 3 of their past 4 to the Bulldogs. To kick ours 150th. Oh, I tossed the coin. I came down with the Bulldogs just.
All right, and we'll get a closer look at Sunday's games when we hear from you on Sunday morning. But Dolphins, Warriors, Knights v Tigers, initial thoughts?
Yeah, well, the big thing, it's make or break for the Dolphins. That's the bottom line. They've lost 3 close games and 3 games they could have won. They could have won that game in Perth last Friday night, and what a spectacle that was, boys. How good was that? And then the Knights, people have forgotten about the Knights, but they're still, they're still thereabouts, and it's such a massive game for them. So, yeah, that's where I'm looking. I'll probably go I will go the Dolphins and the Knights.
All right, money time, Sal?
Mate, I'm pretty keen on 6 at the head-to-head, to be honest. Just ahead, I'm going to go to Storm, Titans, Panthers, Cowboys, Dolphins, Knights. We'll get 5.28 for that. And then at the line, let's play these 4. Titans minus 5.5. Cowboys minus 7.5. Dolphins minus 7.5. Knights minus 10.5. $13.63. And then our try score, I'm going to go the ones, diggers. It's the hashtag ones this weekend. Pappenhausen from the Storm. Travojevic, the Sea Eagles. The Hammer from the Dolphins. Tabuai Fidau, of course. And Kalen Ponga from the Knights to ride us home, $7.56.
Very nicely done. Sal, as always, appreciate your time and look forward to catching up with you again over the course of the weekend here on Tab Radio, and we'll be back with you next Thursday morning as well on the Daily.
Hey, boys, stay safe.
What are you really gambling with? For free and confidential support, visit gamblinghelpline.org.au.
News, views, interviews. This is the Sports Daily with your hosts Tim Walker and Digby Beesham.
Got a quiz question for us this morning, Diggs. We'll do one just after 7:30, or in fact, we might ask it just before 7:30, and we'll get the answer after 7:30. 0427 789 571. Mitch Duncan will join us this hour, and about to have a chat to Ben Sellenger, the CEO at Kieran Maher Racing. Just before we get there, Ben from Bunbury, Diggers, keen to get your thoughts on rumours that St Kilda are in talks about Taron Thomas making a comeback with them. Or certainly there was a discussion held, wasn't there? There was... this was made public yesterday, public knowledge yesterday. What's your take on it all?
Yeah, I'm a cynic.
I think it's...
I'm a cynic, and I'll ask you the question. Now, Graham Allen, the list manager there at St Kilda, long-time football official. We know Gubby's been in the game for a very long period of time. He understands the machinations of the league better than most. Now, Taron Thomas was sacked by North Melbourne in February after the AFL found him guilty of inappropriate behaviour towards women. We know that. He faces court in November.
And that's fair enough.
Okay, and he is not eligible to play at any level until the outcome of a court case, which, as we said, he's due in court in November. For harassment and breaching a court order. A determination on his eligibility will be made post-trial.
Yep.
So Gubby Allen meets with Taron Thomas in a cafe in Lygon Street. Now, a lot of our listeners have been to Melbourne, have been to Lygon Street.
Yep.
It's a hub. It's a really busy part of Melbourne.
Not exactly a quiet little spot to meet with someone.
It's not obscure. It's far from obscure. So if you wanted to have a clandestine meeting with Taron Thomas, where wouldn't you go?
Well, probably a place like Lygon Street.
Okay. So the cynic in me says Gubby Allen and St Kilda have a meeting with Taron there to get the temperature of the room. Am I way off the mark?
I think there's method to the...
Madness?
Well, not madness, but method to the thought process. Absolutely.
Put it this way, if you wanted an off-the-books meeting with a player of Taron Thomas's ilk, Graham Allen could say to Taron, come to my home, 7 o'clock tomorrow morning, before I go to work, come to my home. No one would know.
Yeah, exactly right.
You would be none the wiser.
No.
And then you can go through the dialogue behind the scenes.
Yep.
But instead you have a meeting. Yes, you sit in the back of the room and all the rest of it, back of the cafe. But for mine, it's just got a little bit of a stench to it. And the reaction to it from a lot of St Kilda people on social media has been one of outrage.
Yeah.
Saying, please, do not go down this path.
Could Ross Lyon do what Alistair Clarkson and the North Melbourne Football Club weren't able to do, and that is to get this young man into a position whereby he turns into a good, solid citizen, which at North Melbourne, let's put it out on the table, he's far from that.
I'll give you one name, 2 words.
Yep.
Andrew Lovett. I'll leave it there.
Yeah.
I'll leave it there.
Well, of course, you go back all those years, don't you?
Left Essendon. Who got him?
St Kilda.
Who was in charge of St Kilda at the time?
Yeah.
Ross Lyon.
Yep.
How did that end up?
No, not well. Not well. You can share your thoughts. There's Digger's thoughts on how things are placed with Taron Thomas. Obviously, a lot more to play out for him off the field, but that certainly was a big talking point yesterday. Plenty more to work through on the footy front as well. But right now, it's a great pleasure to welcome in the CEO at Kieran Maher Racing in Ben Sellenger. He is with us on the line. Ben, a very good morning to you, and thanks for your time this morning.
No worries. Morning, Tim. Morning, Digby.
Great to have a chat, Ben. Thanks so much for your time. How do you reflect on the 2023-2024 racing season from a Kieran Maher perspective, considering both Kieran and Chris Waller crashed through the $50 million barrier in prize money?
Yeah, it's a pretty amazing number to reflect on. And yeah, look, it's been a huge success this last season. I think we've gone through a period of expansion into Sydney, which is probably the biggest goal for the year was to make a mark up there, and we've jumped up to third on the table, which has been fantastic, and sort of maintained a fair bit of dominance in Victoria. So yeah, the 50 million is probably the product of a lot of very, very small incremental decisions behind the scene that ultimately have a big influence on our success.
How much planning and time goes into becoming the force that the Kieran Maher stable is now in Sydney? And obviously refer to getting the Bong Bong property there as well and growing that footprint. So it's not something that clearly just happens overnight.
No, it's not. It was a strategic sort of goal of ours over the last 2 to 3 years to actually build our presence in Sydney, and a lot of work goes into assessing the right facilities, the right site, and there's no surprise that the facilities that we do have in Sydney largely mirror the makeup that we have in Victoria. I mean, Kieran's a once-in-a-generational trainer. He has a process and that he tends to follow and a way of training horses. Down in Victoria, we've got Cranbourne as a city-based stable. We've got Fingal as a beach-based stable, and then Ballarat as a sort of a more regional facility that does a lot of the juveniles. We look up in Sydney. We've got Warwick Farm as a city-based stable. We've got a relationship up with Bob's Farm, which is the sand-based facility up near Newcastle, and then Bong Bong's almost that jewel in the crown that was originally brought on board probably for those younger horses, but has ultimately, based on our analysis over the last 12 months, has been an amazing training facility in its own right, sending horses straight to the races.
Ben, from where we sit on this side of the country, it just looks like the operation is getting bigger and bigger and bigger from year to year. Is there a ceiling on how many horses Kieran can have in his stable and the operation itself?
Look, there is a ceiling because I think that we have a lot of analysis that we'll put in place in terms of what we think the maximum number would be in each state. And we're probably nearing that at the moment, albeit the makeup between the amount of horses in training in Victoria and Sydney could shift a little bit more. At the moment, I think we've got about 33% of our horses in training based up in New South Wales. That can probably shift a little bit higher, which is really a reflection of the quality of racing and the growth of racing in New South Wales. But our focus probably is shifting a little bit from growth at the moment into consolidation and efficiency, and that's probably what you'll see out of our stable in the next 12 months. We're still going to have a lot of starters, hopefully a great strike rate, a lot of winners, but just getting our operations ticking along a lot more efficiently. working on recovery, working on sports science, working on data analytics, and just hopefully milking out and squeezing out even better results out of the same bloodstock that we've got.
We see and hear a lot about data in racing these days. How key a component is it in Kieran Maher racing?
It's huge. It's huge. I think it goes across every element of our business, so not just racing operations and feeding into Kieran and our racing team to assist them in better understanding the training of the horses. I think a huge underestimated area is placement. That's been a huge step up for this year is form analytics and better placement of our horses. I think you'll see that in this racing season we probably didn't quite win as many races as we did last year, yet we've made about $15 million more in prize money. And a lot of that is just from better placement of our horses. On top of then the application of sports science where we've had our horses recover a little bit quicker, so you'll see our days between runs come down marginally, and also the longevity of campaigns, whereby we're able to just get our horses up for a little bit longer, which again, these are all marginal gains, but when you look at over a scalable stable like ours with the numbers, it's those small incremental things that drive huge results at the end of the day.
Ben, just on the placement of horses, so we see the noms come out Monday morning on the Racing Australia website or wherever you go to look at them, and if there's a horse that's dual nominated or even holds 3 nominations across Sydney or a couple of races in Melbourne, how quickly do those type of decisions get made, or is it one where you perhaps have to try and get a bit of an idea on what other horses are going to those certain races before you make the decision?
Yeah, well, we've developed our own platform at the back end, which has a huge amount of data that goes into it. A lot of ratings data that comes in from third parties, a lot of independent form data that comes in from internally, over and above then our own internal training staff. So we'll tend to, probably a few weeks out, our training team will have a pathway for every one of our horses and start to pencil in what races they're going to nominate for. You will see a lot of our horses nominate for multiple races, as they do from a lot of other stables. And generally, the acceptances on those, for a Saturday, when I think acceptances close on a Wednesday at 9 a.m, our team will still be sitting around at 8:55 and just watching where we have available access to live acceptances where horses are going, or otherwise we'll be forming a view on those horses from other stables where we think they're going to go and trying to place our horses accordingly to give them the best possible chance of success.
Ben, how much guidance do you offer Kieran or those close to him in order to ensure that he's at his peak physically and mentally from week to week as we now head into a busy part of the year?
Yeah, there is a good support structure around and Kieran, and I should note we've had a great deal of fantastic assistance coming through our stable over the last few years. Obviously, Dave's recently gone up to Hong Kong. We've had Annabelle go and train her own right, and Lucy Yelmans and Jack Bruce go and train their own right. And we've now got also a suite of assistant trainers in Jack Turnbull, Joe up in Sydney, and Declan at Ballarat, who again, all could step up and train in their own right. And they, at a facility-based level, obviously give Kieran an enormous amount of support day to day in the work and the training of those horses. Kieran does work on a really hectic schedule, getting between Melbourne and Sydney, and trying to coordinate that in a way so that he is across every possible horse, as well as us having probably, I think we would say, probably the best systems in place to provide him with the information and data on a daily basis of all the horses in our stable, so he can be across them in a really detailed sense.
How much satisfaction does Kieran get out of seeing a couple of those names that you mentioned, the likes of Lucy, the likes of Annabelle, that have now been able to go on and, in Lucy's case, obviously a training partnership with Lloyd Kennywell, but also Annabelle now, she's become one of the biggest stables as well. Does Kieran still get a great deal of satisfaction seeing people who have worked under him go on and achieve bigger and better things now?
Yeah, from chatting to Kieran, he gets a lot of pride out of seeing those assistants kick on and go on to bigger and better things. And as you say, like Annabelle now is arguably one of the best trainers up in Sydney. I mean, she's one of our neighbours at Warwick Farm. In fact, we're just sort of consolidating our operations, and she's moving into one of our old stables up there, so cross paths a lot. But yeah, he gets a lot of pleasure and a lot of enjoyment overseeing those assistants go on to bigger and better things.
Ben, can I ask you how many horses are on the books? Do you have an idea on the volume of horse flesh that is under Kieran's care?
Yeah, I mean, at the moment, it's approximately 660. Now, that number fluctuates, as it would across most stables, across the season, where it generally peaks sort of in and around April after all of the sales, and then slowly from April through to January, it slowly sort of dissipates and comes down a little bit there. So we're sort of mid-cycle. We'll probably drop off another sort of 5% before we hit the stables and the sales in January, and then start to grow again. And that's kind of, I think, where we plan for that, and we see those ups and downs, and we play around with the proportion of horses racing and spelling at any one time so that our facilities are optimised.
We're having a chat here to Ben Sellenger, the CEO of Kiramar Racing, just on sales time. So how does that work? Obviously, in the middle of clearly a very busy time on the track as well, in and around autumn carnival time, just either side of that, the sales there. So how does that look from a Kiramar Racing point of view? Yeah, I mean,
the way in which we generally operate during those sales, like there's a huge period in the lead up to sales where we've got a bloodstock team that head around to all the farms and inspect. And if we look at Magic Millions as a specific sale, we'll look at try to get around to as many of the horses on their book as possible, narrow it down to the ones that we really like. We'll tend then to probably go out into our major ownership groups and get them out to have a look and get their thoughts on a lot of those same horses, and then go into the sale with a top sort of 40, 50, 60 horses that we really, really like, and then just try to see what happens on that first morning of the sale to see what sort of interest there is. And it's a little bit of a suck and see about what sort of money is going to get thrown around early on and making decisions on the run.
Ben, you talk about growing the footprint there in New South Wales. Is that a byproduct of the money that is on offer up there and this seemingly never-ending spring that is in New South Wales racing, and particularly the autumn as well, which we know is the jewel in the crown up there?
Yeah, it's absolutely a direct reflection of the growth of racing in New South Wales. I mean, I think they've done a great job up there in growing the prize money and the stature of a lot of their races. They've obviously built a couple of those slot races up now that are really important parts of the calendar. And so we feel that we need to give all of our ownership group and all their horses the best shot of actually taking full advantage of those increases.
Ben, wonderful to chat this morning and get a bit of an insight into what is an astonishing operation with undeniable success over a long period of time and seemingly no end to the growth. It was great to have a chat to you. We appreciate your time and continued success through the spring and also into 2025.
Thanks a lot, Jess.
There is Ben Sellenger with us on the line, the CEO at Kiramar Racing. Great to be able to catch up with him this morning and get a little bit of an idea on some of the work that goes in behind the scenes at Kiramar Racing.
660 horses on the books. Yeah, and that's before we get to the yearling sale season. Yeah. It's the biggest horse racing operation in the world. Yeah. He's the biggest horse trainer in the world, Kiramar. He's a freakish talent when it comes to horses. Speaking to people in the know, Tim, but you only have to look and digest some of the numbers to understand the enormity of the operation.
What I took out of that chat as well is less winners last year, but more prize money. So the placement of horses and how much goes into that, and having a plan for every single one of the horses that are in work. Again, you see the results on a Saturday, the prime day of racing, but how much goes into the Monday to Friday side of things there as well to ensure that the horses do get the results on a Saturday afternoon?
Well, you know, a lot of form students and clearly a lot of stables now are using the data. Yep. Now, there are different ways to skin a cat. There are different sort of data available to consumers, but ultimately, you know, you're crunching the numbers, you're working on some figures, and if that's helping you place a horse in the right race to maximise your return for owners, it's a no-brainer. And clearly that's what Kieran Maher is doing. And I think Kieran's had to be convinced of data. I think he's pretty much see and feel with a horse.
Yep.
He's a little bit old
be one of the
school
best
like that.
at it.
Yeah, he's got a bit of that genius about him, but you can't ignore the influence of data now in racing. It's everywhere.
Yeah, yep. So that chat, if you missed any of it, you'll be able to jump on our podcast, tabradio.com.au, Apple Podcasts and Spotify as well. Just a quick one, Diggers, before we get to the 7:30 traffic. Yesterday, the AFL released the round 24 fixture, so this was always going to be an interesting talking point, and I just wonder a couple of things out of it. So Melbourne-Collingwood Friday night, that's a natural starting point. You'd think that would get a big crowd. The West Coast Eagles will take on Geelong, first game Saturday. Richmond Gold Coast Saturday as well. Hawthorn and North Melbourne. So we start to get the games of real relevance here. Hawthorn could be needing to win that one to play finals. Brisbane Essendon, same applies to Essendon there. Sydney then get the chance on Saturday night against Adelaide. But then come Sunday, are we in for one of the best days of football in recent memory, when you consider we start off in Ballarat, the Western Bulldogs and Geelong. Western Bulldogs and GWS.
GWS, yep.
Both sides in the hunt for a top 4 spot.
Yep.
Carlton and St Kilda, who knows what that might mean for Carlton by that point.
You would think that Carlton would be needing to win that match to be assured of a September berth.
Yep, and there's no overlap there. It's 10:30 start, 1:20 start Perth time, and we end 4:10 here in the West, Fremantle and Port Adelaide, and goodness knows what the machinations of that matchup could be in terms of a result and what it might mean for the context of this season. Could it mean Fremantle trying to fight tooth and nail to get a final spot, a home final, a top 4 spot? Could it mean a top 2 spot up for grabs for Port Adelaide? Could it mean them needing a top 4 spot? That 3 hours, 4 o'clock Sunday afternoon, August 25, the live ladder's going to get a workout.
Yeah, it is. I'd argue the last 6 games of that round are of utmost importance. When you think Hawthorn play North Melbourne down there in Launceston at 2:35 on the Saturday, Hawks are humming.
Yep.
Probably are going to have to win that game to be assured of a berth in the finals, or depending on how they go against Carlton. Then you've got Brisbane up against Essendon in the evening up there at the Gabba. Well, clearly Brisbane are in the chop up for a top 2 spot. Sydney.
Who knows what that might mean?
Yeah, they're going to play finals, but whereabouts on the ladder are they going to finish? And then that heads into that 3-game belt on the Sunday.
Even the Geelong West Coast one, Geelong might be needing to win by
certain amount
to get into the top 4.
Yeah.
So they might need to fill the boots against the West Coast Eagles, so they could have a role to play on the final round as well. I love the last day. That's the blueprint for the remainder of fixturing going forward. No overlaps on a Sunday. It's clear, isn't it?
I would have thought so.
Or am I just not being able to see the forest from the trees?
No, the fixture can be a little bit convoluted, and we scratch our heads how a side can play another side twice before meeting an opposition team for the first time in the course of a season.
Yeah.
But they get this right now, the floating fixture, round 24, and I might be in the minority. I like the wild card setup.
Well, just before we get to the traffic, if we were to have the wild card weekend, if we were done, 20 games, that was it, and now we've got the wild card round. This is the 2024 season. This weekend it'll be the Bulldogs up against Hawthorn.
Huge.
And Carlton up against Essendon.
Carlton and Essendon.
Yeah.
They'd get 95,000 to that.
Yeah, they'd probably get 80 for the Bulldogs Hawks at the moment too.
Yeah, great.
They'd come out of the woodwork there. All right, we get out to the roads. We'll come back. Julio Santarelli.
With the latest WA Thoroughbred racing news, Julio Santarelli now joins the Sports Daily with Santa Snippets.
Cannot believe that's the areas we went to for that quiz question. Hello, Jules.
Good morning, Tim. How are you?
I'm going well. What about your good self?
Very well, thank you. What a golden night for Australia at the Olympics.
Have you got a favourite one of those 4, Jules,
the
overnight?
Pole vaulter.
The pole vaulter?
Yeah.
Yep, Nina Kennedy, outstanding.
First gold medal, female gold medal
in the field.
At the Olympics.
In the field.
In the field.
Yep.
Yeah.
Special.
Wonderful result.
Special. And she's not only the Olympic champion, she's also the world champion, having cleared 4 metres and 90 in Budapest last year. So she is at the peak of her powers now, Nina Kennedy. It's terrific to see.
And she's one of ours, isn't she?
She is indeed.
How proud, but a proud moment for WA.
Yep, magnificent.
Terrific.
And our cyclists, 3 of the 4 in the team pursuit, all West Australian. One of them's moved over to South Australia as well.
Sorry, Tim, Matt Worm.
West
Perth
Aussie.
Sailor.
Yep.
Dinghy. So, no, it's great.
We've had a great history at pole vault too, haven't we, in WA?
Very much so. Very much so.
Steve Hooker.
Steve Hooker, yep.
Hooker.
Yep.
Yep.
There was a Russian girl a few
Emma
years ago.
George.
Yes.
Emma George. And then you had the Parnov clan.
That's right.
Yep. Paul Burgess.
Absolutely.
So, we've had a lot of success here. So, no, it's great to see that Nina Kennedy has continued that. So,
Just starting to put together an athletics team that is relevant at the Olympic Games. 6 medals this Olympic Games. Magnificent.
Well, when you consider we've won more medals than the host nation, and we're not far from China, it's a wonderful result.
special.
Huge.
Terrific to see. What's happening in the world of racing, Jules?
Braden Garth, he's copped a 1 month ban. 1 month ban. So that stems from that positive from the July, I'll just get the dates right, the July the 24th meeting, that midweek meeting. So he'll be free to ride on Saturday the 24th of August. There are a couple of conditions. He'll have to provide 2 clear samples to stewards. He's provided one clear sample, or he's provided 1 sample. We're waiting on the results of those. Once the second sample has been provided and that returns clear, then he'll be able to ride track work. And if he passes those 2 tests in the process, then he's free to ride on the 24th of August. So effectively a 1 month ban for Braden Garth. And I think in the circumstances, I think that's a pretty good result.
I would agree with that. So it'll be good to see him back hopefully later this month.
Yeah, absolutely. He's been through a lot throughout his career, and great to see him back. And August the 24th for Braden Garth. Gee, tough day yesterday, Diggers.
Oh, yeah. We spoke about it yesterday with Scotty. We said, how does this track play? And last week, I think the rail was 19 with a cutaway, and it was hard and fast leaders and or, near the fence, near that cutaway. That's where you needed to be. Yesterday, after race 1, it became apparent you did not want to be anywhere near the cutaway.
Yeah, and then in the last,
Chris Parner. But maybe that's just horse. That's just
so lucky.
So lucky, who looks well above average off what we've seen thus far.
Yeah, now she's 2 from 2.
Yeah, exactly right. And trending the right ways.
Absolutely. A great result for Dan and Ben Pearce. Ben Pearce is in Melbourne overseeing Acromantula he's run in Melbourne on the weekend. So, and it's travelled well, acclimatised well. Perfect draw, barrier 1. Craig Williams aboard is currently $5 with Tap Touch Acromantula in that 1,000-metre handicap, that benchmark 100 on Saturday in Moonee Valley, the forerunner to the Carline Stakes, which he won last year. Just some other brief news. Maddie Derrick copped a knee injury, so she'll be out of action for now about a month. So that's bad news for Maddie. Cole Chisel got galloped on last week in the Jockey Celebration Day Stakes, and I think he had surgery, either it was about to have surgery or has had surgery to his off-hind tendon. So a little bad luck there for Cole Chisel and connections with Darren McAuliffe. So, the update on Braden Garth, update on Maddie Derrick, and update on Cole Chisel. Acromantula has acclimatised well. Looking forward to that meeting on Saturday. Then we've got the Belmont Newmarket on Saturday, which is our feature event. It's been good support. Beach Satellite Bruce opened up very short at $1.90. Now it's eased out to $2.10. Support for Man Crush into $8. And Saloon Bar, Dan's expecting, said the horses come through in great order. Expecting a big run second up. There's been good support too for Saloon Bar into $6.50. But the favourite there is Boots Like Bruce at $2.10 for Annie King and Pat Carberry.
All right, Jules, as always, thanks for your time this morning. Very nicely done, and look forward to catching up with you again next week.
Have a great weekend, boys. Thank you.
For the latest WA thoroughbred racing news on Twitter, find us at The Races WA and at Santa Snippets.
All right, we'll let you know the answer to our quiz very, very shortly. 0427 789 571 is the Retrovision text line. Mitch Duncan from the Cats, not too far away. Diggers, we have got a very busy weekend on the way. Obviously, we touched on some of the racing that is going to be happening on Saturday afternoon, and a bit of the injury news there as well from Julio. But Sunday afternoon at Belmont Park, we have got a busy afternoon there on the way as well. The Thoroughbred Breeders at WA have got a number of guest speakers lined up, and one of those is Josie Hardwick. It is great to have her on the program right now. Josie, a very good morning to you.
Hi, good morning. Thanks for having me on today.
Great to have a chat to you, Josie. Thanks very much for your time. As Tim said, there is a Thoroughbred Breeders WA seminar at Belmont on Sunday, and you're going to be a guest speaker, one of many, but you have some pretty important information which hopefully can put to, I suppose, bed some fears regarding yearlings and scoping.
Yeah, that's right. So just a little bit of background. I'm an equine surgeon based out of Murdoch University, and I have, for some reason, developed a particular interest in the upper airway of thoroughbreds and have spent the last few years, myself and research team, investigating yearling sales scoping. And we're the aim was to address some concerns that the industry had, particularly around the race performance of yearlings that were graded as 3 out of 5 at the yearling sale. So if anyone's familiar with yearling sale scoping, these are horses that pass the conditions of sale on a post-sale scope. So if you bid on one of these and had a post-sale scope done, it'd still be okay to purchase. But people have become increasingly concerned about these grade 3s, so they has caused a big increase in pre-sale scoping. So lots of these horses are examined multiple times to see, and if they're identified pre-sale as a grade 3, these horses are fetching lower sales prices, lower clearance rates, and some vendors are actually not presenting grade 3s at sale. So, but there is some conflicting evidence about grade 3s currently as to whether they did have reduced race performance and whether they were at increased risk of developing a condition called roaring, and those horses that are roarers generally need a surgery if they're going to continue to be competitive. So what we did is examine the yearling sales scopes of over 5,000 yearlings, and then we followed them up for their 2-year-old, 3-year-old and 4-year-old plus careers, and looked to see and tried to do that very objectively with a slightly different technique than is currently done at yearling sales. And our main findings, which you may find interesting, is that 80% of those yearlings that were identified as a grade 3, they actually performed just as well as yearlings that had been graded as a 1 or a 2. But there was a small subset of those grade 3s, which are only 4% of the sale population, that did perform. They still performed as well as a 2 and a 3-year-old, but they did earn significantly less when they got to their 4-year-old plus careers. So it's important that we identify that small subset correctly and try not to tarnish the rest of the grade 3s with the same brush. So I'll be going into more information about that on Sunday, and we'd love to have some of your listeners there to hear about it.
Absolutely. In terms of the volume of horses that were formed as part of this study, how many horses were you looking at? How many yearlings?
So we looked at 5,200 yearlings.
It's a big body of work, is it not?
Yeah, it was a huge amount of work. There were a lot of sore, strained eyeballs, I can tell you, from our research team looking at those scopes. But it needed to be done. There were some big questions that needed to be answered, which is why we tried to do it in the most sort of robust, scientifically robust process possible, that these results are valid, basically.
So what do we expect from horses? Say if they are a grade 3, Jose, are they then, as they advance in years, is that issue likely to become more of a factor which can prevent them from achieving the ultimate in regards to wins regularly?
Yeah, so we know that we've graded them slightly differently than is currently being done, and it may be that the process that we're doing needs to be changed after now that this research has come out. But some of the grade 3s are certainly at increased risk of requiring a tie-back at some point in their careers. So we need to identify which ones of those are at increased risk, and we think we can do that. And then the purchaser makes a decision as to whether, they'll, even though they're at increased risk, it doesn't mean they won't perform as well as a 2 and a 3-year-old or even a 4-year-old once they post-surgery, get back on the track. So at least it allows the purchaser to have an informed decision as to whether they want to go ahead and buy that horse and potentially take that increased risk. That very small percentage of horses, it's only 4% of the yearling sales population. The rest of them do just as well. And then they can, at least they have all the facts on the table, and they can use that information. And as they do with everything else, what the horse looks like, how it's bred, how it's put together, etc.
So, Josie, you are going to be speaking on Sunday. What time are you going to be taking the microphone out there at Belmont?
I think I'm there about 3 o'clock or 3:30 in the afternoon, but there's some great speakers before me, which have some great information as well. So I recommend people go for the whole thing if they can.
Fantastic. Josie, thanks so much for your time this morning.
No problem. Thanks for having me on.
News, views, interviews. This is the Sports Daily with your hosts Tim Walker and Digby Beesham.
Time to head over to Melbourne now and catch up with Geelong superstar Mitch Duncan. He's with us on the program in the build-up to a big game this week against the Fremantle Dockers. Mitch, a very good morning to you.
G'day, Timmy, Diggers. How are we?
Really well, Mitch. Great to have a chat to you. The mood inside the four walls there at Geelong, and I dare say the town in the wake of Tom Hawkins' retirement announcement on Tuesday morning. What's it been like?
Oh, it's a little bit of a sad day, wasn't it? Oh, especially for me anyway, but I think the wider AFL community and the Geelong fans, but, it still can be really exciting. Hopefully you can get him back and compete at the end of the year, and then if everything goes well, into finals. So he's still got a bit of work to do to get there, but he's putting his head down and working really hard to try and get that. And then obviously at the end of the season he'll hang up the boots. But it's a bit of a sad day yesterday, but one that I feel very privileged to be on the journey with him for as long as we have been, and still a little bit of a chapter to go, so we'll see how it pans out.
Did you have an inkling he was going to retire, Mitch?
A little bit, yeah. But it was never really set in stone, and you just never know. He's obviously been on the 1-year contract for the last 4 or 5 years. So and he I suppose his form never really dictated too much that he was going to retire, but that's what an injury can do. You can sit back and reflect, and that's kind of what he was saying. He reflected me up, doing more things as a family, and I think he's 36 now, and he mentioned that he's more of some of our new draftees, their parents' age. So he's done a bit of reflecting over the time while he's been injured, but as I said, still really excited for what may come towards the end of the year.
The chance for him, as well as the game's record holder, and we know he's been celebrated this year on a couple of occasions, getting to the 350 as well. But there'll be the chance now, hopefully, once he does get back into the setup, to give him that farewell and that build-up now, which we know Joel Selwood, he got the perfect farewell, didn't he, on grand final day? But Tommy will get that chance over hopefully a number of weeks to build up to, again, a farewell that'll be befitting of the champion that he is.
Yeah, that's what we're hoping for anyway. As he stated, there's still a few things behind the scenes that he needs to get right and continue to work on to get himself back into, great shape to participate when that chance may arise. But I really hope we get a farewell game for him in some capacity. Because he definitely deserves it. He only needs 4 more goals to kick 800 goals. So that's another one that, I like to think we can help him do, just to tick over there. But there's still a bit of water to go under the bridge, but we're all, fingers crossed, and helping him work as hard as possible to get it right.
It shouldn't be a surprise, this stat, but you've played 254 games alongside him, 181 wins, 71 losses, and the 2 draws in there. Will there be a time, or have you had a time to sit down with him and just go, how good has this been?
Nah, not really. I suppose when you're in it, you don't reflect too much, and whether that's the right thing or the wrong thing to do. But even he's had, his milestones, 350 games record holder and the like. I kind of don't think about him as a footy player too much. Like, he's just a great, obviously a teammate, but just a really good friend, and that's kind of how I think of him more than what he does on the footy field just yet. And I think it won't be till, we finish footy and you reflect back on, whether it be a few games or things that we achieved along the journey, and that's when you think, bloody hell, how lucky were we, and how lucky was I to play with Tom Hawkins, and families are really close, and I could say that about a lot of players that I've played with, but he's super close, and one that I cherish running out with every time I can.
Had to work hard, the Geelong Football Club, to get over the top of Adelaide at home last weekend. Mitch, how are you tracking as a club?
Yeah, I think we're going okay. I think we would have loved to have played better, or been able to play better. Credit to Adelaide, they played well and had the game on their terms probably for longer periods than we did. But I think our best is definitely good enough to take on these top sides, and we come up against one of those in Freo this week, which we're really looking forward to the challenge. And I definitely think our best is capable of winning a grand final. So I'm very optimistic in that case, but we have to get things right and hope, touch wood, we can go in with a really healthy list come the last few games and then potentially into finals, and I think that will hold us in good stead.
You obviously got on the wonderful winning run through the back half of 2022, and we know what it ended up in. But is there anything perhaps in just the week-to-week process of the club at the moment, the Monday to Friday stuff, that you're sensing is similar to 2022?
Oh, I don't think anything could replicate that year, that's for sure. Especially, I think we won 16 in a row. We've still got a very similar playing group, albeit minus Joel and Isaac, I reckon. Cam Guthrie's obviously a little bit injured, and same with Tom. So, obviously they're key personnel when you wheel off a couple of those names. But I think as a group, once if we can make the finals, we've got great experience and players that have been there before, so can kind of understand the moment and things that we've done in the past to be able to be present and just focus on the fundamentals of the game, because that's the most important part when it comes to finals footy. And we got to start that again this week against Freo, and hopefully we can build a bit of momentum to the back end of the year.
Mitch, you've been in this caper a fair while now. Have you seen a season like this one?
Nah, I don't think I have, no. It's definitely not as even, I suppose. You drop a couple of games and you can end up out of the 8, or you can win a couple of games. You can come from 13th to be in the 8. So I think it's great. It's it's really, every game means a hell of a lot in terms of the ramifications that it can cause. But I think, it's great for the AFL. It's great for the fans of each team, knowing that, they're a chance. And that's what the AFL have been striving for, and I think they're doing a really good job.
We had a good chat to Michael Frederick yesterday morning on the Sports Daily, and we asked him why Fremantle have held sway over Geelong in recent times. I think the Dockers have won their past 3. Do you have a thought process as to why that has been the case?
I wouldn't mind hearing Michael's first before I jump in.
He talked team defence. He said he thinks the way that they defend against some sides, and clearly Geelong has been one of those, that works well in their favour.
Yeah, I think they really are a well-drilled side, especially defensively, and they have been for a number of years under JL. And the things that they've obviously bought now is that offensive side. With Tracy, nearly top 5 in the Coleman, Jai Amos up there. And they're hard runners like Frederick and you're going to help me out here. Give me a couple of
Switkowski.
Switkowski, that's the one that I was looking for. So,
yep.
They're still really well drilled side, so they're hard to play against. What we're going to have to do to combat them is, obviously around the footy, that's one of their one-woods as well. So bring a heap of pressure and match him in that area, and try and keep the ball in our forward half as much as possible. And I think, they're the key elements of AFL at the minute. So every team's trying to do it. It's just a matter of who can do it for longer periods.
Now, we spoke about the Hawk earlier on, and the fact that there'll be some big games, some farewell games, hopefully for him into September. It's a big one this week because it's Jezza Cameron's 250th. Will we see you get up for his milestone game this week?
Yeah, Jez obviously came to us a bit later in his career, but a quality player, that's for sure, and one that's helped us get over the line in many games. So looking forward to running out with him come Saturday, and hopefully we can get the chocolates for him and he kicks a bag.
Absolutely, and for the Geelong fans, you can get along to Optus Stadium Friday afternoon at 4 o'clock for open training and get to see some of your heroes in action. Mitch, as always, a great pleasure to be able to catch up with you on the program this morning. All the very best. Safe travels over here, and hopefully it'll be 4 points in the bag for the Cats against the Dockers on Saturday afternoon.
Let's hope so. Thanks, Tim. Thanks, Diggers.
What are you really gambling with? For free and confidential support, visit gamblinghelpline.org.au.
On the Sports Daily, it's time to introduce the 1985 Brownlow medalist from the Footscray Football Club at Brad Hardie. This segment is proudly presented by Retrovision, Loans 123 and Ross's Auctioneers and Valuers. Introducing the boy from Hilton, the AFL guru, Brad Hardie.
Hello to you, Bradley.
Good morning, Diggers. Good morning, Timmy. Good to be with you, boys.
Big weekend coming up. Looking forward to getting your thoughts, but there's been plenty happening in the football space over the past 24 hours or so, Brad. And let's start with one that we've been talking about it here for a little while, the wildcard weekend. It looks like it's on its way.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. Thanks for doing it on the phone today, Diggers. I was just at a tour of the kennel with the captain and the coach, and saw a few of the boys, and fantastic facilities, etc. We've done a few favours for each other this year, so it was nice to have a good look around. Trained for about an hour and a half today, boys, which I thought was interesting. Playing on Sunday, I thought it might have been a bit shorter than that, but they're just out on the track now, and they got a fairly strong one. But you're right, we were talking about 2 weeks ago. A television station over here trying to claim it as an exclusive last night, but they're a little bit behind the play, behind Tab Radio, mate. But look, there's a lot to be worked out, Diggers, whether they're going, they're thinking about, sort of grafting more money, maybe sell it to Western Australia or Queensland or whatever it may be. And I get all of that. But look, and there's a lot of defiance as well, because it would work this weekend, boys, because have a look at the nature and the logjam on the ladder. But, I'd hate to think next year, Diggers, that, Carlton finished 3 games ahead of Hawthorn, 7th and 10th, and then all of a sudden 10th gets a chance to knock them out. So there's a few misgivings on that side of the thing. So a little bit of the logistics to work out yet.
It's coming, though, isn't it? The rhetoric from Andrew Dillon and the football industry, I think we're all going to have to get our heads around it. If you don't like it, tough you know what.
Yeah, exactly. But as I say, there's just a few that have raised. Look, it's all the CEOs are behind it. That was decided 2 weeks ago over your way, where at the CEO meeting it was sort of kicked around and mulled over, and it came back pretty much thumbs up. But as I say, there possibly is always a minority who sort of say, well, hang on, if we're Carlton and we win 3 games more than the mob that finished 10th, we could get knocked out. So we've earned the right to be in the 8 because of our wares, in rounds 1 to 24, and then we face the elimination wild card. But you understand. But as you say, Diggers, they're just going to have to suck it up, Princess, and see how it goes.
Exactly right.
It makes dollars. It makes sense.
Particularly from the AFL viewpoint.
That's what the AFL will be thinking. And the other one is Taron Thomas. Brad, so spotted meeting with Gubby Allen yesterday. What's your take on it all?
I've known Gub for 40-odd years, and him and Lee enticed me to go to Collingwood for a year against my better judgment. But, look, Gubby's he leaves no stone unturned. But, look, I would think, Tim, that whilst it's a PR exercise and that they're probably trying to show, a wayward young man a bit of support, look, I can't see the AFL letting him in. I really can't. I mean, they said, "Oh, okay, you want to go down that path? Well, we'll make your draw look pretty interesting in the first 3 rounds next year." So, no, I think this guy's got a long way to go. And as I say, St Kilda are probably a little desperate too right now. I don't think they can land too many big fishes, and he's not a big fish, but he's going to be a cheap fish, because of the fact that we know he can play. But I think the AFL, if they want to be the moral compass of the world when it suits them, this will be one time they will.
Yeah, look, it's interesting. Ross Lyons had a bit to say this morning in light of what was reported from Tom Morris, and he basically said he would not even consider taking Taron Thomas until he did his penance. But in saying that, as we said a little bit earlier, he's got a court appearance in November, and only then will the AFL rule whether he is eligible to play football. And if he is indeed allowed to get back into the Australian rules space, it's going to be at a lower level. So you would think he's odds against to be seen at AFL level, though, Brad, in the future.
Yeah, I agree. And look, as I said, because you thought there was going to be a chance where he was, supposedly going through programs to improve himself, and of course that didn't work, obviously, clearly. So what's to say it's going to, the 6 months off or 8 months off that he's had through this season is going to be any different.
All right, shall we get stuck into the footy, because we get underway with a big game tomorrow night, Sydney and Collingwood at the SCG. Oh, they need to win. They need to win, the Swans.
Oh, just thinking about this one, I mean, there's a few parallels between these two, and that was a horrible, horrible loss by Sydney last week, and we've been over it, and but Collingwood have had those sort of problems as well, like the clearances, Tim, basically the fundamentals of the game, because Sydney have completely lost them. Their top 10 players are as good as any top 10 in the competition. Can they flick the switch? I'm not so sure they can in 1 week. Interesting, John Longmire's given them a couple of days off to try and freshen up and all that. But, geez, I tell you what, they want to come back with a darn good attitude, I would have thought, on Friday night. I think Collingwood playing another elimination final, it's, again, we thought last week they had to win to stay alive, and they have to win again to stay alive. I don't think they'll make it. I don't know what you boys think, Diggers, and I think they'll miss. But I think they'll win this game because they do travel well, and I do believe, albeit with minus to Goey, but I still think they can find a way to win, because I can't tip Tim, and I never do, tip teams to get beaten by an excess for 100 points from the week before. I don't care if they're top of the ladder or not. And even if they are, they're playing a side that's desperately trying to hang on to defend their title, which we don't think they will. But, they're going to be a lot desperate. I think Collingwood win this one, Bush.
I'm leaning that way as well.
Are you really?
Yeah, I'm leaning to Collingwood at the moment, pre-teams.
Oh, I've tipped Sydney. No way am I confident at all, but I just thought maybe you get a response. And it's interesting, Brad, as you said, he's freshened them up physically and mentally, John Longmire. I suspect that's the last lever he can pull. I think that is it. I really honestly believe that is it.
Well, we've joked, haven't we? They're the tackler of AFL. Well, mate, that's first and foremost. So they've got to try and stop. They can't be spotting Collingwood 6 goals at quarter time, or 5 goals, or 3 goals, or whatever. So I think we'll get an idea, Diggers. And I think you'll know if you've jumped the right way or not in the first 10 minutes. If Collingwood are out to 3 goals to nothing off the bat, well, you'd be a little worried. But if it's Sydney leading 3 goals to 0, well, you think, well, I might have pulled in your lingo. Diggers, the right lever.
All right. Brisbane GWS, that's the second game. First one Saturday morning. This is an important one, a top 4 clash. 1:30, Brisbane GWS 3:55.
Oh, fascinating contest, isn't it? Really looking forward to this one. I mean, look, Brisbane advantage at home, no doubt about that. But the Giants are coming. They're not blowing us off the map, with the way they've been winning, but they just keep getting it done, and they're creeping along. But, geez, it's a hard road for the Giants. Their draw's as hard as anybody's, on the run home. So from my Fremantle the following week, the Dogs the last at Mars. So it's really, they're going to be really desperate. But I think, it's been a miraculous recovery by the Lions. As I say, at times Diggers, they haven't been playing, scintillating football either, but they do score high. And I think that'll keep him in good stead up at the Gabba. They score very quickly. Harris Andrews back in. If he should go to Jesse Hogan. Now, Jesse's had a fabulous year, but I'm not taking anything away from him. But for some unknown reason, the clubs in recent weeks, Diggers, have been playing the second defender on him, and I don't understand that. So I don't think Brisbane will be making that mistake this week because he's a match winner. So he's kicked, 20-odd goals in the last 5 games, Tim? So, I'm thinking Harris Andrews gets that stopping job on Jesse. Toby Green's in a bit of form, but I reckon Brisbane get this John at home.
Same for me.
Same for me.
But it'll be closer than the 22.5. I think this could be a 2 or 3 goal game. The other game on Saturday's got its own interest, Brad. North Melbourne, $1.60, $2.35 about the West Coast Eagles, and Andrew Gaff will be playing to get him to the 300 mark in AFL Life membership.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, look, he's been a terrific little player, a terrific little warrior. Now, he hasn't been, the flavour of the month with me for a little while, and he's not alone on that one. I think there's a few more, and this is good doogs by West Coast. This is what they should have been preparing for, some time ago. So he gets $2.99, he gets 300 against Carlton, and, he doesn't. There's only 2 ways you get out of this game: injured or disappointed. And you don't want him to go out disappointed, and he won't be, because to get the 300 is a marvellous effort. We saw that with Dusty recently, So from my point of view, that's good. That's better from West Coast. That looks a lot better, and they should be probably putting a couple more on notice to boot, Tim, to be honest, against Carlton. And, but I think North can win this. I think they're going well enough at Marvel, because what they can do at Marvel, they shut the ground down better at Marvel than the bigger grounds. I've said that all along. Oh, sorry, they're playing at down in Tassie, aren't they? That's right. So, but it's their second home, just the same. So I think it's similar dimensions as Marvel, just in the open air. So I think they'll get it right, and I think they'll win. Probably
the body of work for North would suggest that they'd be getting the job done over on the East Coast, but West Coast, they need to win in the white shorts.
North Melbourne for me.
All right. Fremantle, $1.53. Geelong, $2.50. This has tightened up off the back of Josh Tracy, who just along viewers said they're going to get another opinion, but off what we heard yesterday, Brad, it's probably more unlikely than likely that he plays.
Oh, well, look, you don't even risk him. What's he biggest? 21, 22?
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think of how old.
22,
I mean,
yeah.
I know it's desperate. I know it's desperate times, but look, they can win this game, and it's not going to be easy without him, but they can still win this game, and they've got bigger fish to fry and 2 really, really important fixtures coming up as well. So don't risk him for long-term injury. If he's not 95% right, don't play him, and I think that's what they're going to have to lean towards, I would have thought. But look, in the predictor, I've given this one to Fremantle. I had for a month ago, and I haven't changed my mind. I'm yet to be convinced. I think Geelong are going okay without going bullish on them, and advantage Fremantle at home, but they do need to get a rise out of a few over there who play better there than they play away at the moment. They need to, even though they had that game in the bag the other day, they did it with a few passengers, and they don't want to have any passengers at Optus. So Fremantle to win, but you know that Geelong are going to be desperate.
Leaning to Freo, but the Tracy out, if indeed that is the case, that changes things in a massive, massive way. They're good behind the ball, the Cats. I'll tip Freo, but now I wouldn't be surprised if Geelong won. Well, time for Jackson to stand up. He's been a terrific get, and it's his turn, time to shine now. You're really not sort of saying, well, let's share the ruck duties. Let's put him in at centre half forward. Let's straighten us up. Let's take a little bit of pressure off Amos and Schultz. Sturt, and so that's the way I would be looking at it. I think they need to try and stretch the defence of Geelong as best they can.
Fremantle just. The loss of Tracy is significant.
Essendon Gold Coast Saturday night. That should just be a fait accompli here for the Bombers, shouldn't it? Because the Gold Coast don't wear the white shorts at all well.
Yeah, but it's still a danger. I mean, I think you guys saw it firsthand. They can look mediocre, Essendon, and Fremantle, by and large, didn't play to the best last week, but they had a mediocre till the last 5 minutes, 25 points. And look, Gold Coast have got nothing to lose. And Essendon, sometimes you can really roll yourself up, can't you, Diggers? And you can pull out a performance and you get the miraculous win. Now, it could be a sliding door moment. It can go one of 2 ways. One, it can kick you on and go to the next level the following week, or you can get happy with yourself and say, well, we did it last, we've got the pressure's off. Well, no, the pressure's not off, because don't worry about Damien Hardwick. He will be roasting and toasting his boys to say, listen, we have to try and pinch a game away from home, and this is as good as any. So you go with Essendon, but do not deny if you're behind in the tips, don't be frightened. Have a throw at the stumps on the Gold Coast.
They've lost their last 17 away games. Like, if you take in Darwin being home games, dating back to last year, Gold Coast have lost 17 on the bounce. In a row.
It'll be 18 after this weekend.
Staggering. It is a staggering number, isn't it? For a side, this isn't a side in its first or second year in the AFL. Like, this is a side that has been around for long enough now. Boy, oh boy.
18 in a row, Diggs?
Yeah.
And just an update. Look, I think they haven't cooled on Dusty, but they are, they're having $1 each way. They're obviously very keen on Rioli, and they'll get him. And Dusty will be a bonus. So they haven't shut the door on him, but they're quite at ease at the moment. And don't be surprised if he does a Hardwick.
All right, Melbourne, Port Adelaide, the other of Saturday night's games at the G.
Yeah, well, Port Adelaide, they have to win this. I think they're going better than Melbourne, and Goodwin's talking bulltish. He's talking it up, and we're still a chance. Well, you're no chance.
No.
You might pinch this one, or you may not. But I'm figuring you may not. I think the way that Port are going at the moment, Diggers, I think they're going swell. I mean, you can't beat Sydney by 112 points one week and then go to Melbourne and lose to them at the MCG, because there's a lot in your favour. They've got a few players who aren't playing anywhere near as well as they can. Gawn looks like he's on one leg. Fritz is in and out. Pickett's in and out. Rivers and those guys are trying their heart out, as Viney. But no, I'm with Port Adelaide on this one. They should be getting the job done here.
Yep. They're in better nick, Port. They should be winning. Carlton Hawthorn Sunday morning. This is game of the round time.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, look, I don't know. I don't know whether it's a false sense of bravado with Carlton or what, but hearing a lot of them, Hawthorn are going fabulously well. I reckon they'll beat them. I do. I just think they'll be just kicking themselves after letting that game slip against the Giants last week. But if they're going to have any hope, and I'm just worried about Carlton. I'm not sure. As we said, I'm not convinced Curno's fit. Nothing's come out as yet, but it just seems to be that that ankle is a bit of an issue. You're not reliant on Walsh anymore. It's all Cripps. Cripps has got to try and piggyback him on him. Wiedering's dropped off a little bit, Diggers, I think. I think it'd be fair to say. So, what was all their pluses earlier in the season, Tim, aren't quite their pluses now. Again, like Sydney, I don't know if they can flick the switch on and off when they feel like it. I don't think they're that good, but I do know one thing about Hawthorn. I mean, he has got them humming, and albeit a narrow loss last week. I'm going to go for the Hawks.
Hawks for me as well.
Clean sweep.
Yep.
Clean sweep on the outside of there. 390 Richmond, St Kilda 126. This at Marvel. What do you do here, Brad?
Yeah. I think they were humbled last week, St Kilda, so they're going to have pride in their performance, like just as Essendon did the week before. So, and I think it's unravelled at Richmond. I mean, it's just now that Dusty's gone, Bolton looking like he's checked out. Rioli's still playing okay, but he's checked out. Liam Baker wants to. I just don't sure. I'm not sure. I don't know if he survives this, Diggers, to be honest. Look, he'll survive this year. We'll go into next year. But I don't know how long he'll survive. I just think they've really mashed this up. So from my point of view, I think St Kilda get the job done here.
You can slate that back to the coach from last year, Damien Hardwick. If I'm Tim, and this is a hobby horse of mine, Brad, if I'm Tim Taranto and Jacob Hopper, I would be absolutely filthy at Damien Hardwick.
Yep.
Like they were lured south on false pretences.
Yeah,
they really were.
Yeah, and I think and just keep an eye on. As the bloke who took over, put his name in the queue to at least to be sounded out by West Coast McCullough.
Right, okay. We'll watch on with interest there. I'm with the Saints as well. In the last game, Adelaide and the Western Bulldogs. Brad, this one at the Adelaide Oval.
Oh, yeah. Look, as always, just again, I was here this morning, and then, look, they're flying. There's no doubt about that. The Adelaide Oval hasn't been a happy hunting ground for them, particularly against Port. But, Adelaide, were all right last week, and at the end of Geelong, and if they bring that, and I think they get Rankin back, so that's a plus. So it's not going to be easy, but if the Bulldogs play the way they have been over the last month or 5 weeks, they'll win this, and I think they will. They're taking it 1 week at a time. I know that's boring, and mundane and inane, but that's exactly what they're doing. That's their whole purpose, is to make sure they hit the ground running. Because last time I was there was only a few weeks ago, Diggers, and they got absolutely ambushed and smashed. Now everything's being done to keep them on edge, and they know the destiny's in their own hands. Yes, they'll make the 8, but how high up in the 8 depends on this game, I reckon, because I think they can certainly close out the last 2 with the right attitude. North Melbourne and the Giants. So the Dogs win this, and they could be steering a third.
Yeah, exactly right. They could be. They'll certainly go to as high as 50, you would think, if they can win this game. I'm with them. Diggs?
Yep, Bulldogs for me. They are airborne.
All right, as always, Brad, this segment thanks to Morton the New Nut.
Yeah, he's going fantastically well. 17 stores, got to be one near you. That latest one out at Ellenbrook is still killing the pig. They're going extremely well out there. Loans 1, 2, 3. You can apply online or give them a call. 1-800-100-100. They can do things the banks can't. And don't forget Frankie Lee, online auction tomorrow afternoon, a bottle of vino, and you can sit back and watch the races and watch your team hopefully win across the weekend, boys. Hope you go well, and hope your team wins.
Beautifully done. There is Brad Hardie, the 1985 Brownlow medalist.
We thank you for choosing the Sports Daily with your hosts, Tim Walker and Digby Beecham.
Great to have your company. About to talk greyhound racing. Trav from Adelaide was the winner of the tickets to Freo and Geelong. Busso man.
Busso, Nina Kennedy and Jai Amos, that is what they have in common, both born in Bustleton.
Not saying Trav's a Busso man, but he's well aware of his Bustleton superstars. Jai Amos.
Trav, you're a smart man.
Yep. And Diggs actually asked that question because he tried to tie himself in there in some way, shape or form, given that he was born there too.
I was just giving due recognition to God's country, Tim.
It is a magnificent part of the world. There is no doubt about that. And obviously celebrating Nina Kennedy's gold medal, as well as our men's team pursuit. Also, Matt Wern in the sailing, and our dude.
Our bro. Keegan Palmer. Back-to-back gold in the men's park skateboarding.
Yeah. I reckon
it was just rad.
A couple of bronze medals.
So gnarly.
A couple of bronze medals as well. Of course, in the race walk, the mixed relay, and in the discus.
Yep.
Magnificent result there. Magnificent day for athletics. Unfortunately, a little bit of gloss taken off as well with the arrest. So big news out of Paris there in regards to Tom Craig. But we're certainly celebrating the deeds of our Olympians at the moment. I wonder if Peter Howell is one that's all over the bros and the dudes in the skateboarding. He's the greyhound racing manager at Racing WA. Hello to you, Pete.
Yeah, good morning, boys. I think I probably got on there once as a kid and fell off, so I was well off the skateboarding. I wasn't cool enough.
Still better than me.
You didn't do skateboarding, Tim?
No.
No? Okay.
No.
Now, greyhound fans have a lot to look forward to, Pete. It's a really significant day, isn't it, throughout the country?
Yeah, it certainly is. It's an exciting night. Sky Channel put on a fantastic showcase for all these state finals for the Nationals, and we kick it off. We're first off the rank at 6:05 p.m. with the WA Distance Championship over the 721 at Northern this year, which is unique in itself, and it's a cracking field. And the two Chris Health runners, Flying Freedom, West on Booney, they're holding favouritism at the moment, and they're making their Northern debut, which is about the only knock on them, and that could make for an interesting race, because race experience up on that track is very important, but they do have a class edge. And if you're looking for one maybe at value that has that Northern experience, I think Sky Manelli has caught my eye. It will need a bit of crowding from the leaders because it is a strong run on type, but if it gets the right run, who knows, the $3.10 might be a bit of value for a place, but yeah, Chris Health certainly has a strong hand.
All right, let's talk about the Sprint Championship, because this is going to be a beauty, and Transcendent is a real winner and is at the top of the market.
Yeah, it certainly is. The fourth race in the showcase on Sky at 6:26 p.m. And, the Shinners Kennel, I think you've got Steve on after me, and he'll certainly be able to talk to their chances. And, $2.30 red box. But what that has done is push out the prices of a few real heavy rate chasers. And, if you like Uncle Tommy, you're getting $4.80. Barbecue Man, $8 for a greyhound that's hardly missed a win up on that track. And, a Mandra specialist in Hinto going around at $20 tonight. And, these are class animals, and this isn't even talking Firelighter or Miss Envy. Jeez, what a race.
Who do you like in the two features then there, Pete?
Yeah, it is so many angles and variables that are going to come into play. But West on Booney did return well. It can handle box 8, but I don't know, Northern Crossing out there, Flying Frida we saw over in Queensland when it can lead what it can do. So perhaps the one, Flying Frida, might be critical. And in that sprint final, it's a real tough one. Box 1, obviously, huge advantage. And Transcendent will be very hard to beat. But I was impressed by Uncle Tommy last week. He'll only improve. He doesn't have to do anything more other than, he's made the final. He will be representing over in Adelaide as the highest ranked Greyhound Clubs Australia Greyhound. So he's booked the ticket already. So he might just ease up. Who knows? Not in a bad way, but in a good way.
Well, let's hope that not only we get a couple of cracking races tonight, but both of our winners are able to go and fly the WA flag very, very proudly on the East Coast. Pete, thanks for your time this morning. We do appreciate it. We look forward to catching up with you again next week.
Yeah, not a problem at all. I keep enjoying all the sport that's happening. What a fantastic time of the year.
Yeah, cheer home the Opals in particular. Let's hope that we can at least take it up to the US in the basketball.
Definitely. See you, boys.
Go well. There is Peter Howell with us on the line. I'll tell you what, if there was a greyhound race at the Olympics, you could do worse than getting a winner, a gold medalist like Transcendent in there, Diggs.
Very, very solid chaser, putting it mildly. And we spoke to Steve Shinners last week, and he was in box 7. I think that was the only box in his short career that he hadn't started from. What does he do? He ticks that box straight away.
Let's see what he does from box number 1 tonight. Steve is back with us on the program to set it all up again for us. Good morning to you, Steve.
Morning, Tim. Morning, Diggers. How you going?
Yeah, really well. He is a K9 ATM Transcendent.
He certainly is. No, he's a great dog. He's pretty laid back and he's all business when he gets to the races. So that's what you really want.
How did you come away from last week?
Yeah, look, I was wrapped with his run to come from out there, and as you boys pointed out, I didn't realise he's actually won from every box now in his 10th start, which I don't think I've ever heard of a dog do that before. And he's just the absolute ultimate professional, that dog, as you see by his run last week. Look, got a lot of respect for Paulie and his dog, and he's a very high-class dog, Firelighter, and to push up underneath him and cop a little check coming off the back and running down, it was a great run. And I was wrapped when he got the red, so he'll bring him out and hopefully does everything right.
What was the most pleasing aspect of that victory last week to your eye, Steve?
Just his field sense. Like there's a lot of young dogs, as you know, like put them out wide and sometimes they crash or don't push around. He just charges, gets himself into a good spot, and just his ferocious chasing. Like that's just pleases you no end. And you can't teach them that once they're in the boxes. It's up to them. But no, he's just the ultimate professional, that dog.
All right, so you touch on the red, drawing the red tonight. Are you confident that with the right amount of luck that you can see him continuing on his winning ways?
Yeah, look, as long as he doesn't do anything wrong, he's just got to come out with them. If he can hold the 2 out, well, it's a bonus. If he can camp behind the 2, well, it's even better. And Paulie's dog as well out in 5. He's got a lot of early speed. So, he just doesn't want anything to go wrong. And look, I think he can improve on the clock a bit. It wouldn't surprise you could get down to a 29.10 if everything went in his own way. And depending on the track too, and they're probably not going to light up the clock tonight, especially being in the kennels for 12 races probably doesn't help. But, look, as long as he doesn't do anything wrong, he'll be very hard to beat, I'd say.
What about the kennel mate?
Yeah, look, she's a star, but probably not very well boxed tonight. Paulie's dog does go straight early, but does tend to move off on the corner, so she'll have to miss him and Barbecue Man on her outside. So probably hoping that she actually misses the kick. Look, she's probably actually quicker than Transcendent, and she could actually give the record a shake if she happened to ping. But look, I don't think she's got enough speed in this race to be able to get to the lead. But she'll have bigger fish to fry for her down the track. But she's a very high class bitch, and same as him, just a ferocious chaser. You just need a lot of luck from out there though. So, but we'll just fingers crossed she gets around safe.
All right, let's hope that it is a successful night there at Northam tonight. Steve, thanks for your company over the past 2 weeks. We do appreciate it, and it's certainly great to see Transcendent continue on the winning ways, and what you touched on there is spot on with Miss Emmy as well, an absolute ripper, and I don't think anyone would begrudge her winning tonight either.
No, that's for sure. Thanks, boys.
What are you really gambling with? For free and confidential support, visit gamblinghelpline.org.au.
We thank you for choosing the Sports Daily with your hosts, Tim Walker and Digby Beecham.
Great to have your company. About to get into this Belmont program on Saturday afternoon. Norm from Kalamunda text through saying, where is Pikey? Julio Santarelli informed us last week. He's just having a week off, William Pike, just to freshen up.
Back Saturday.
Back
Riding
Saturday, yep.
but just having a little bit of a break here and there.
Yep, just in terms of what it looks like this week for him. One that's come through here from Slammer disagrees with Brad. Wiedering has not dropped off at all. He's been enormous considering how much defence... how much pressure our defence has been under over the last few weeks. Should be a lock for the All-Australian team this year. We'll beat the Hawks, so Slammer's confident.
Oh, well, it's a big game, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a huge game, that one.
Now, another one here. No wonder Diggs isn't a fan or is much good at skateboarding. Can't even get over a curb at Kalgoorlie. That's from Toddy.
Nah, 100% right, Toddy. It's the smartest thing you've said in a long time.
I think you could be something with a skateboard yet. I'm not giving up on you. Certainly think Brad McManus, he'd be good.
He was a rollerblader.
Oh, was he really?
Yeah, he was a rollerblader.
Okay.
He was a young man, yeah.
All right, let's welcome him in. Hello, Brad.
Hello, gents. No, none of the above.
Oh, Blades McManus, they call you. How are you?
Right. Yeah, great. How are you guys? Going well?
Really well, thank you. And we've got an interesting edition, it must be said, of the Swan Draft Belmont Newmarket. Brad, you were first up with the prices yesterday and you installed Boots Like Bruce, an odds-on favourite. He's been a little bit easy since.
Yeah, he's out into the black odds now. Brucey's 2.10, opened at $1.90. Money coming thick and fast out wide, actually. Mixed Moment getting good support, and so is Man Crush, it's got to be said. They're the two that are pretty bad results at the moment. Punters pretty keen in them going well.
Okay, has there been much support or any support for Saloon Bar?
A little bit. Yeah, certainly have been a little bit of support there, but it's got to be said, yeah, Boots Like Bruce has been probably friendless at this stage. Maybe punters expecting a little bit of a better price there.
All right. Now, we had a 1,000-metre race early on the card last week that was an interesting one, a small field, but an interesting one. And we've got another one here. Made in Mexico is the favourite for the opener at $3, but punters certainly thinking that any one of the six could win.
Yeah, cracking little lineup to start the day. Made in Mexico's got the support of a couple of pros already, $3.40 into $3. Certainly been some good snipping songar, so I'd suggest that maybe the camp pretty keen there, that the messages will start flowing around soon. But at this stage, they're the two with a bit of sniffing down the bottom there for under influence.
Okay, so Made in Mexico teaming up William Pike and Adam Durant, and they team up again here with Supernatural in what is a very wide-open 3-year-old affair.
Yeah, isn't it very interesting one to map with? I think a few of the main chances there might be quite well back in the field. So punters at this stage sitting on their hands with the exception of a little bit of local sharp support there for Global Trip on debut.
All right, so that is in the second. We get to race number 3 on the program, the 72 plus over the mile. And Sensational is a winning machine at the moment. So the punters expecting him to go again?
Well, I'm sure they are, but there's been no financial support at this stage, Timmy. So Classic Rogue and Ginger Green getting a bit of money there, but maybe Sensational, maybe punters expecting a better price. But I reckon it will be only probably in a few multis, and it's fair to say after last week, punters, they'd have their pockets full because plenty of those faves got up, so there were heaps of multis that rode them through the weekend.
Okay, Special Sort and King Cartel go head-to-head in race 4, this No Metro Win Mile.
Special Sort getting some pro support up the top there, not a lot, and a bit of each way sniffing Super and Marnie. Not a lot else to report there, Jen.
All right, what about the 5th? Can you tell us if there's much action here, the West Speed Platinum over the 1,200 metres?
Yeah, a bit of Eastern State pro support there for Pearly Nugget. Aside from that, guys, this is a pretty quiet race as well.
Okay, now we're seeing a resurgence of the Adam Durant stable, and that's reflected again in the prices and performances of late of Queen of Jerusalem here, Brad. Race 6, the 2,200 metre event.
Yeah, he's in she flying, and just in black odds at this stage, the support probably hasn't been there. Flash Paddy getting each way support there, and even a bit of sniffing out wide for Wicked Cool at the massive price.
What about race number 7 over the 1,400 metres? Is there much to report early doors here where Deferred's a short price favourite? Tenacious
Rewards getting good each way support. At this stage, the favourites in the race mainly being deferred there. That's very steady and will be in a lot of multis, but hasn't seen a lot of support so far, and no-brainer for endless at this stage as well.
Okay, now Ice Pick Nick, Brad, is sitting at the top of the market in race 9, $4.20. This is the 72 plus 1,200 metres to round out proceedings. Was nom for the Newmarket. They've elected to go here.
Tricky little affair, this one, Diggs. It certainly had me scratching my head, and seems like a few others as well, because not a lot of financial support for any runner at this stage, with the exception of Brave Strike and Siberian Siren. They're both had some pros snip away early.
How did you assess Other One Son's prospects here, Brad? You opened him up at $4.20. I dare say that was a difficult task, given we haven't seen him for so long.
Yeah, sort of like that Olympian that had to fire off the bow with a B on the finger, isn't it? It's you half know where the target is, but you sort of things get in the way sometimes. How do you measure up? How do you trust? The trial was fine. The horse has obviously got untapped ability, so yeah, it'll just be up to the individual punter, wouldn't it, Diggers, where they line this horse up?
Yeah, very much so. Now, quickly, the best back horse there on Saturday, just before we touch on the futures markets that you put up for the features later in the year.
Yeah, Man Crush, I reckon, would be the one that's got the most support so far each way, Diggs.
Okay, Man Crush. And has there been any interest in those markets for the Pinnacles features that went up a little bit earlier in the week?
To be honest, not a great deal at this stage. It's still very early days, but it's not a bad time to get involved if you do like one, because it's the pre-noms market. So if your horse isn't nominated, you get your stake back.
I think Taylor Cortland's quite keen about the price offered around Overpass at $3.50.
Well, let us know if you've got the winner and you've had a bet in the all-ins. Let us know, because it is certainly a good time to get involved and maybe get a price about one that could start shorter once we get closer to the races themselves. Brad, as always, thanks for your time this morning. Appreciate it, and we'll hear from you on Straight Up with Mart.
Yeah, thanks, gents.
There is Brad McManus with us on the line. All right, that's us done for another day. Of course, Digger's Best is race 2, number 1 at Northam, so take him on. And as I said, Trav, the winner of the footy tickets. So we're back again tomorrow to round out the week. We're going to go and practice some skateboarding, I think, given that it's our national sport now.
Get your daughter involved early.
Yeah, we will. It's our national sport. The two should be carrying the flag at the closing ceremony, our skateboarders. It's only fair. All right. All of our podcasts, tabradio.com.au and your podcast platforms. We'll go again tomorrow.
We will.